Good evening, everybody. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Finance Committee. It is Monday, February 9th. At the start of the meeting, present in the room for counselors, I have Counselor Charm from Ward 5, Counselor Maliki from Ward 3, Counselor Silver from Ward 8, and Counselor Bixby, Vice Chair from Ward 6. Online, I see Counselor Kritzman from Ward 4, Counselor Greenberg from Ward 1. And we'll introduce members of city staff as we go. So the first item we have is 73-26, CPC recommendation to appropriate $34,626 for bike parking at parks and high schools. We're joined in the room by CPA Program Manager Molly Hutchings. And if you want to introduce whoever else is here with you to present the item, that would be great.
The only other person here is Jen Martin, who is our transportation planner, and she's online. And I have first we're here to talk about the bike parking project. And I have some CPA funding overview, which I know you had asked for last time, just to go over briefly how we get these CPA funds and how they're distributed. CPA funds are raised as a 1% surcharge on property taxes, which combined with ever decreasing state match, which is about 15% this year, brings in about $4.5 million a year. $1.5 million is allocated to debt service payments, which are previous projects that we've taken out bonds on. So we're paying debt payments on those. And about $2 million goes to the Newton Affordable Housing Trust. That number is represents 35% of our revenue. The remaining funds are allocated towards four projects in four categories, which are open space, recreation, historic resources, and affordable housing. The housing reviews all the affordable housing projects. And the projects are reviewed by the Community Preservation Committee and then recommended to City Council, which is how we got here today. So this project is in the recreation category. I know that that's already come up, but this would be out of recreation funds. This project is hold on, let me see who's blocking this on my screen. This project is the third phase of a three-part bike parking initiative. It would install bike racks at public parks and both at the high schools where bike parking is at capacity. So we're seeing a real need in those locations. Earlier phases, Jen Martin can correct me on this, but I believe the first two phases were at schools, like the elementary schools, and in village centers. So this is the final phase, which tackles what's left. Here is a none too brave list of all the locations where bike racks are being installed. And I'll definitely send this to Lisa, she can distribute it after, but if you're more of a visual person, here's a map. So you can see where all those are laid out. And I know on the application, Jen said that the Parks Department collected data on where best to put these in 2024. If you want to know what kind of bike rack it is generally this. I know there are plans for also shelters over then at Newton North and Newton South. Typo, sorry, I'll fix that. Recommended funding and request is $34,626, and we have a very large match from the state, which is incoming. So we're providing less than 20% on this project.
So 34,000 is our portion?
Our portion. Okay. There's general give the actual amount, but I believe it's 134 is the secret. And that's it.
Thank you. Well, first of all, it's so nice to have you here in person. Yeah. So thank you. And that was a perfect amount of information as well to really set the table and show the visual and everything. I feel like you really anticipated perfectly the questions that folks were going to have. Let's go around and see if anybody has any questions or comments. Counselor Malky, then Counselor Charm.
So if, look at the list of locations and how many bike racks are getting, a lot of ones or twos or sometimes threes. Say a school or whatever is getting two. Is that, how many bikes does that accommodate? Or how many bikes does each bike rack accommodate? Some are just like singletons.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Janet.
Yeah, I can comment on that. So it's one bicycle on each side of the rack. So some locations are getting more, some locations are getting a single hoop, some two hoops. So two hoops would accommodate 4 bicycles.
So the two hoops are far enough apart that
Yes.
they can fit them all. And are a lot of these locations where there's no bike racks at all?
Or where there need to be additional.
Yeah, most of these, so these locations were selected by the Parks Department and our conservation team here in planning. They selected locations where they felt that we needed either additional bike parking or for the most part, just any bike parking. For conservation land, for example, most of the conservation, perhaps all of it, you aren't allowed to ride your bicycle. And so we want to encourage people to arrive by bicycle and then have a secure place for them to lock their bike before they head into conservation land. So we went out with Aaron Lerman from Parks and Rec and figured out the location for each of the bike racks as well.
And some of the locations, like the schools and City Hall, there definitely is a lot of bike parking, but there's an increased amount of bikes that are getting to those places. They need some additional parking.
And do you have a sense of how short we are at high schools especially?
Yep, so we're adding 10 bicycle hoops to each of the 2 high schools. The big demand at both high schools is for additional covered bike parking. I've been hearing that for maybe the last 4 years. So we're really excited to add a second covered bike parking area at both high schools. And then at both high schools, the plexiglass had been damaged. We were able to replace that under warranty for the existing shelter at Newton South. At Newton North, it wasn't covered by warranty, so we have funding to replace the plexiglass cover there as well. And we're looking at other options that might be a little bit more robust for our second shelters.
Did kids break them or how did they get damaged?
I'm not sure exactly what happened. My guess is maybe there's a crack and then it was an attractive thing maybe to want to grow the crack. It's not clear exactly what happened. They are at high schools, they are in high use areas. We will do our best to make sure they're installed so that that kind of damage wouldn't happen again. We've learned from those experiences.
And so if you're adding 10 racks at each high school, that's sort of space for 20 more bikes. What is the current capacity of the high school? How much of an increase are we getting?
That's a good question. Trying to think, our recent updates at Newton North, we were upwards, our highest count of bicycles there was 200. Some of it is just to make sure the bicycle racks are in the right location. So we're using this as an opportunity to sort of move things around too and put them where people are biking. And that tends to change based on traffic patterns and other factors. So we probably still could use more bike racks, at least at Newton North. Newton South, many of the bike racks are also at capacity. So we'll see how this goes. The bike racks themselves are fairly inexpensive. It's the installation cost that's expensive.
You notice that it seems like the more you put in at once, the more economical it is to do the labor part of it. And is this something we will keep doing, trying to add more in future years of phase 4 or phase 5 or whatever?
Yes. Yeah, we are open to suggestions for that as well. It does make sense to do it at scale like this. So this is sort of a first pass in our parks, and then I guess at this point a second or maybe even third pass at our schools. Anytime we get racks, we can immediately find a use for them. The grant that this is the match for is the Boston Region MPO Community Connections Grant. So that could be a source for bike racks in the future as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. And I see we've been joined by Counselor Mickley from Ward 2. Counselor Charm.
Yes, I had 2 questions. Thanks for all of the prep materials. It was fascinating to learn about where we were putting them and some of the different uses. My first question is about the fact that initially it looked like this was part of a grant that included the RRFBs. So has that now like separated and those have moved on and moved forward? Like how did this end up kind of splintering off from that?
Jen can speak, but the original grant included the RFPs, but CPA funding can be used for those expenses.
Okay.
So this matching grant would not be used for those expenses.
Okay, got it.
So the RFBs are, so planning and DPW often apply for a grant that has needs for both planning and DPW. And in this instance, planning is overseeing the bike rack installation and DPW, the RFBs. So they too need a match. I'm not sure where they're getting the match, maybe from internal funds or mitigation funds or some other source. So they will proceed as well. We're working right now on the contract for the Community Connections Award so that we can move forward with installation both of the bike racks and the RFBs. And the Community Connections Award went to the Finance Committee September 8th.
Right. So we'll probably see something in the future come through for a match for the RFBs portion of this. Is that right, Jen?
I don't know. I don't know if it has to come through here if they're using departmental funds.
Ms. Lemieux, do you have a sense about that?
I apologize, I do not, but they are probably using departmental funds.
I thought the RFPs were primarily funded from federal grants. That's just off the top of my head.
I think we have funded them through lots of different
Yeah.
means at lots of different times, sometimes appended to a project, sometimes through a state grant. So fair to say, though, the RFB portion of this is not before us tonight. We're only talking about the bike portion, and I'm sure a quick email to Commissioner Sullivan will clear up the RFB question.
I just wanted to clarify since that seemed like there was a $300,000 differential between the original grant and this portion. My second question was sort of looking at the timeline. It looked like these were going to be purchased in October 2025 and then installed in spring and summer. So my question is, like, have these already been purchased and we're like reimbursing an internal department, or are we waiting to purchase these based off of this allocation?
We needed to wait for two things. So this is from last summer when it went to the committee. And so that's what the timeline is. We're still waiting for our contract for the funding from the Boston Region MPO. So we cannot purchase until we have permission to spend. So we have not purchased them. We will presumably now be installing them more so summer. Hopefully, yeah, it shouldn't be an issue to install them this summer headed into the fall.
Okay, so once we purchase them, it seems like there will be roughly a 4-month, order lead time based off the documents, and then like summer or fall goal for installation. Is that right?
Yeah, we'll see how long it takes for them to arrive.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now that we're having this discussion and I'm thinking back to last term, I'm wondering if we already heard from DPW about what they were doing from a matching perspective for the
We did.
RFPs. Do either of you guys remember?
We did the RFB, we did an RFB thing. but
Right.
Was that what is
You
this
said
the
the
same?
We did.
Yeah.
You know what, we're after this, I'll make a note to reach out and clarify because I frankly don't remember off the top of my head, and I'm sure we can get that
Yeah,
clear.
there were some on that list that were high demand ones. so it would be good.
I saw some hands go up and I missed who they were from. Okay, Councilor Silver and then Bixby.
Yeah, are these being installed by the city or by independent contractor?
It will probably be by the one of their city's on-call contractors.
Councilor Bixby.
Oh, I just wanted to say thank you. I think this is great, and many of the ones, at least in my ward, are things that I've heard from many folks, and also myself have found a need for. So I think I've passed along many of those requests from the community to you all. So this is great to know that this is happening, and thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. We keep a list of locations that are suggested, and we're always looking for funding opportunities. it makes sense once we have a big enough group and there's a theme to apply for funding.
Any other questions or comments from the council? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion on this item? Motion to approve by Counselor Bixby. Any further discussion before we vote? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That is 8-0 in favor. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna go on to item 67-26, the appropriation of $43,800.68 to the Newton Public Schools. And this addresses the HelpSee Textile Collection and Recycling Program. And I see that we have been joined by Mr. Hurley. And for those of you who haven't met Mr. Hurley before, he is the Assistant Superintendent, Chief Financial and Administrative Officer at NPS. Mr. Hurley, all yours.
Hi, good evening. Thank you so much. I'm sorry for my long title. I apologize. Good evening, everyone. So here to talk to you about HelpSee Textile Bins. So we installed those bins probably 3 or 4 years ago at this point. They're not at every school, and we went out to bid actually for that service. We receive approximately 11 cents per pound of recycled material. And last year, FY25, we basically recycled approximately 400,000 pounds. And so this represents the money that has been sent into Newton. It goes into the general fund. And we respectfully look to reimburse NPS on our side for that funding. And on our side, we typically would use this only for sustainability initiatives. One of the big things we would want to do with this is the green teams. I'm sorry, Maureen, I think I cut in front of you. Your hand is up, so go ahead. I apologize if I've cut in front of you.
If I may, Madam Chair, and Liam, I waited to actually put my hand up. What I wanted to say to the committee is this is really a housekeeping matter. The state, for whatever reason, insists on sending the reimbursement for the school department to the city as part of our general fund revenues. And so this item, as well as the next one, we take in as a general fund revenue in any given year. We have to wait for that money then to drop to free cash. And then in the following year, we reimburse the school department. So this is very much a housekeeping matter. This is not a cost. I know a citizen had written in a question whether or not this was actually costing the city money. That's not what it is. This is just housekeeping to take it from what were our general fund revenues to give it back to reimburse the school department, which is the rightful place for the money to be.
Mr. Hurley, anything else you wanted to add?
Ms. Lemieux is much more succinct than I am, so thank you. No, that's fantastic.
Well, thank you both. I really appreciate it. What comments or questions do we have from the committee, if any? Councillor Greenberg.
Well, thank you, Chair. This is a wonderful program, and I often drop off bags of fabrics and textiles there, and I'm so glad that the schools are earning this money. My only observation is that frequently these containers are overfilled and difficult to drop off things. I've had neighbors who live nearby them complain about them, and I've actually called HelpSee and reported them, but it seems to be pretty frequent. I'm just want you to be aware of that, Mr. Hurley, and I'm just wondering if you heard the same thing.
So yes, thank you. You know, we have heard this HelpSee has, from my perspective, typically has told us they will be within 24 hours responding. So if you want to email me any specific schools that you're having this, we definitely have heard this. And I will say that there's been, unfortunately, some bad behavior. Some people looking at it as basically a dump zone. So we've had sometimes some people putting, a mattress that's not going to fit, and they just leave it there, or some other, you almost think that something that might be trash. So some of this is some bad behavior. They have been responsive from our needs, but if this is something that you've got, let us know. Stephanie Gilman, who I work with, she works a lot with the sustainability group. She handles a lot of these issues, and she calls, and they have been responsive to us. But I certainly have heard that, and I'm sorry for that. It's not something that we want to see anything that's unsightly around the schools.
Thank you. Thank you,
Mr.
Chair.
Custody, what do you do if somebody stuffs a mattress or attempts, to dump
So
things?
often, yeah, we'll either have the custodian put it into one of our trash, into one of the dumpsters, which is not ideal. Sometimes HelpSee will be able to take some of those materials if they can. So it's a combination, but ultimately, and we sometimes will work with Miss Juanita Trubert to kind of identify if there's something we can't handle. Typically, the trash company will come and be able to take something from us. But ideally, we're not. Ideally, all these materials, they're basically meant for any textile is really kind of what they're after. Can be dropped off, and again, it's a pretty broad bucket. They actually then try and actually reuse most of those textiles as well.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other comments or questions? Councilor Bixby.
So, sorry, just to refresh, I know we've been through this in previous years, but the memo talked about quarterly payments, but this is the payment for the year, or this is a quarterly payment?
These are the quarterly payments for FY25 all added up. So this is the altogether from last year's payments. They do make quarterly payments to us, and this is all of the money from FY25 we collected.
And are we getting sort of the same amount? Because we're paid per pound, or is it?
Yeah, we're paid per pound. We're 11 cents per pound. And actually, April of 2026, we're going to be going up to 13 cents per pound. So we're going to go up a little bit. So
Is it the same as last year, this payment? Or?
It's a little bit higher too. So it'll be going up a little bit higher.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilor Charm. Any further discussion before we vote? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That is an 8-0 vote in favor. Moving on to 68-26, the appropriation of $17,600 to Newton Public Schools. And this is for disadvantaged student transportation. Mr. Early.
Yeah, so this falls under, we actually get two reimbursements right now where this is actually for expenses that we received similar. And I think as Ms. Lemieux said, this is really kind of money that comes into the general fund. This is what's actually called our foster care reimbursement. So the state, through our DESE end of year report, we reported approximately $37,000 of expenses for foster care transportation. This was a couple of students that we had. It's actually from fiscal year, if you can believe kind of figure out the timing here, this is from fiscal year 24 that the state reimburses us in FY25. And as Ms. Lemieux says, we have to wait for free cash to drop. So this is the money. This is the state reimbursed us that year at 47% of that cost that we incurred in FY24. And again, this money we would then apply towards our basically our foster care, and in some cases our McKinney-Vento, which is homeless transportation that we also have in the city.
Okay, thank you. What comments or questions do folks have? Is there a motion on this item?
I'll move it.
Motion to approve. And we have, is that a question, Councilor Principal, or a motion?
It is. It's a question that's tangentially related to this. I apologize, but as long as Mr. Hurley, who I admire and respect so much, is here, what is the target percentage that we're supposed to get reimbursed from the state for these? I know the state never meets it. I think you said it was 47% this year. What is the target? 75%? What's the target?
Yeah, so we might be, and this gets where it gets a little bit tricky. So there's foster care reimbursement, there's McKinney-Vento reimbursement, and I think what you may be thinking about is actually the circuit breaker reimbursement for transportation.
Yeah.
They added that circuit breaker. That's actually a pretty big number. And once you reach the threshold, they are supposed to, once they kind of meet what's called their instructional and tuition expenses, their goal is to get to 75% of that reimbursement. It's been hovering in the 60%. So I think that's really more your question. So the McKinney and the foster care reimbursement has been more in the 40 to 50% range. It's on a smaller dollar amount. The circuit breaker, ideally, if we can get that money, that's some significant money. That's more than $1 million in reimbursement that we could get for transportation.
Is there a goal in the McKinney-Vento or the homeless? the way it is this one in the circuit breaker?
Yeah, I think it's really an appropriation that the legislature makes, and then they take that, whatever that appropriation is, and they see what the reimbursements are, and then they calculate this is your reimbursement. So I'm not aware of a specific goal. I have not heard that, but I can look into that if you'd like. But I think it's just they line item a certain amount of money that they can put for foster care. Many districts also, we do not qualify what's called regional transportation. So if you're a regional school district, they try to provide some type of transportation reimbursement. We do not qualify for that one, obviously.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm happy to move approval.
Councillor Maliki already beat you to the punch.
Nope, I want to move approval.
Any further discussion before we vote? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. I think that is all for you, Mr. Hurley. Thank you so much. Have
Thanks,
a good night.
everybody. Have a good night.
On to 66-26, our last item. This is a request to transfer $82,000 for the funding of the Arts and Culture Director position. Ms. Lemieux.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This one I would again classify as a housekeeping matter at this point in the term. You as a council approved the establishment of the Arts and Culture Department a few weeks ago. You also approved the appointment of Ms. Meryl Kessler as the department head, the director of the department. And so now at this point in time, we wanted to make sure that you all approved all of that before we submitted a request to transfer funds out of the Parks and Rec department, which is where we had been paying her from, into now the Arts and Culture Department. And so this will cover 6 months. We are going back. We will do this retroactive to January 1st. And so this will cover 6 months of salary for her, as well as 6 months of health insurance benefits in particular. Although we did not need to put that part on the docket request that we've put in front of you, because we had said along the way that the only costs to be incurred were going to be the salaries. I just wanted to make sure that we were being completely transparent, that as this employee will be taking health insurance benefits, we are looking to move those funds also.
Okay, thank you. Do we have comments or questions on this item? Councillor Bixby.
I guess just similar to the previous conversations we've had about some of these moving, are these roles that we're hoping to fill in the future, or what are these openings that the salary is available for, that this is coming from?
So we have had, as you probably know, several adjustments in the Parks and Rec department. So this money is coming from there. We have savings from the change in the I would say change, I guess, in the Parks and Rec Commissioner position. So we have someone who is in an acting position there. We have someone who is acting as the deputy. You have recently approved transferring money to the executive office to fund the chief community services officer. And so when we were paying him in the very beginning from Parks and Recreation, those funds will move from there. What we do have in Parks and Rec right now is a vacancy for the assistant open space coordinator. If you were not to approve this, we still have money there where we could fund this position from there. However, because you have already approved the department as well as appointing Ms. Kessler as the director, it is probably most appropriate now that we move these funds into that department and pay her out of there.
So that means then there's not funds for that role in Parks right now?
There will be, as a result of, I think as a result of this action, there may not be immediately, but there will be potentially before the end of this fiscal year.
Okay. Got
We
it.
are not, if I can say it this way, we are certainly not eliminating that position, as far as I know.
That would be helpful. And, I guess I'll reiterate what I think we've said before, which is I think going into the next budget season, it would be really helpful to check in on some of these openings that, we've allocated funds around and whether they continue to be open, whether they've just, I think we all, well, I don't know, I don't want to speak for others, but in the previous conversations, there's been sort of an understanding that these are not roles that are being eliminated. So I want to make sure that we have clarity on whether that doesn't just sort of quietly happen for some reason.
And so I will say to you, as the CFO and as the person putting the budget together, I'm not aware of us eliminating any of these positions.
Got it. Thank you.
Ms. Fee, just to further clarify this part of the conversation, am I understanding correctly that we're also not holding back on trying to hire for this opening either?
I believe we are not holding back. What we are quite possibly doing is reevaluating it and making sure that we are comfortable with the job description and the posting, that it now reflects the new administration's purpose for it. But I would say we are not holding back on moving forward. If I
Okay.
can qualify it that way.
I think so. Is that?
I think so. Yeah. I'd just like to
budget.
check in, I think, going into the next fiscal year about where all these are.
Well, and I would imagine that the new administration is sort of figuring this out
Yeah.
too as they go, and probably through the budget process, we'll get some clarity on some of these and, whether they're intending to move forward with them all or not, or reform the responsibilities and salary, et cetera.
For sure.
Councilor Krinsman?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate the questions and point raised by Councilor Bixby. It was a little bit of what I was going to say. At this point, I know Programs and Services, in its esteemed wisdom, did approve this item as well. There was discussion there. And given the fact that I know Councilor Malachy just wants to jump in there and beat me to the punch, I want to move approval.
All right, we have a motion to approve by Councilor Krinsman. Do we have any further comments or questions? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? So that concludes all of our business for tonight. Just before the councilors hang up, and others are welcome to hang as well, I just wanted to really quickly check in with everybody's feelings about being on Zoom versus hybrid. And if you want to sort of try the strategy of some Zoom only, some hybrid, what are people's feelings, preferences, and experiences? Councilor Malik,
I'm happy to do as many hybrid as we can.
you like to be in
I
person.
like to be in person.
Okay, others?
Yeah, as long as you can guarantee good weather, you have happy here.
Yeah, well, I do have that magic weather wizardry ability. Councilor Greenberg?
Oh, thank you. I would prefer to keep everything hybrid, so we have the option in case something happens in the family or work that we can pop on if we had to.
Yeah, I mean, I think undoubtedly, the hybrid model is here to stay. I think, it's just so advantageous when folks either need to work from home. I think particularly for our city employees who travel a great distance, it's a big value add to their lives, not to feel pressured that they need to be here. And for all of us, I mean, I think we've all also seen when you're sick, you want to be able to stay home and perhaps if you're well enough, still be able to participate, all those things. I mean, this committee has been all virtual for at least 4 years. And, selfishly, part of that is much easier for me to, get dinner on the table, in this case, not off the table before running out the door to City Hall. So I can pretty much guarantee you I'll be running in here on the nose 7 o'clock each time. But I do think that there's a really nice vibe opportunity to see each other in person and where and when city staff are available to meet in person. So I don't know if I think Councilor Bixby and I will sort of talk about it, but I was in my head thinking about in the esteemed programs and services committee model, perhaps alternating or finding some mix. Or if it becomes easy to just do hybrid and always be in person, we can, lean that way too. But we'll talk about it and
Yeah, I
keep
mean,
you all posted.
go ahead. So on PNS, I think we're, Chair Krinsman can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we're gonna try to do all hybrid.
Are you?
Yeah.
The committee has expressed the desire to be in person whenever possible. Like you said, we always retain the possibility for both committee members and the public to join via Zoom. So that's always an option. The point Councilor Greenberg was making. Zoom is here to stay. I know we all support that for enhanced access, but Programs and Services has expressed the desire to be in person, whether the chair wants to or not.
I was going to ask the chair. So, to my mind, chairing a meeting, not, if there are folks in the room, it feels awkward to me to chair a meeting from the screen. What is your experience?
Yeah, there may even be some guidance on that from the state. I can't remember, but I think the chair is supposed to be in the room if it's a hybrid meeting. I'm saying supposed to because I can't remember if it's a requirement of the open meeting law that was granted from the state granting the municipalities permission to meet remotely, or if it was just a sort of best practice. But I think either way, I think we certainly ought to have the chair in the room.
If we call a hybrid meeting and there's a terrible snowstorm, there's nothing wrong with everybody participating via Zoom, even if it's noticed as a hybrid meeting, right? Is that accurate?
The most recent Programs and Services Committee meeting, as an example of this, I think in the very room, maybe not in that room, well, wherever it was, there was sort of leaking in the room. And so we decided, Josh Morse emailed me and said, hey, we've moved everything. There's been leaking and we only had one agenda item. So we moved to remote that day, just sent out an email, notified people, put a notice on the door that's what we were doing. I think it was fully within compliance of the open meeting law. But yeah, we changed to remote that day because of those extenuating circumstances.
Okay, so Ms. Lemieux, Mr. Bickley, and then I think Councilor Char. Ms. Lemieux, did you want to add anything?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think Councilor Krinsman said most of what I would say I'm just going to say this on behalf of the staff. I can certainly assure you that many of our members of staff would absolutely appreciate being able to attend in hybrid.
Totally understand.
Yes,
Thank you.
Councilor Bickley?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I don't know what the state guidelines are, but my personal view is I don't really mind if the chair is leading the meeting from home, from Zoom, or from in person, even if it's a hybrid meeting. So obviously, if there's state rules around that, we have to follow that. But if not, I actually think it's important to be accommodating to chairs as well. So I would support Chair Grossman leading the meeting from wherever is best for you. Just to put that out there. And the second, if there is a rule that the state requires to have chairs in the room when there is a hybrid option, then maybe I think we should have some sort of alternating schedule, because it sounds like what I'm hearing from you, Chair Grossman, is that you would appreciate the flexibility of being able to lead some meetings from Zoom. And if that's the case, then I think we should be considerate of that as well, so that we can make sure both committee rules and leadership rules are things that people can do and balance with all the other competing priorities of our lives.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Councilor Charm and then Councilor Melky.
I agree with everything that Councilor Bickley just said. But I guess I would say, can we have the default be that we will be hybrid? And then if it turns out that, there are things like snowstorms, or if our chair can't be in the room and needs to be remote because of, travel or illness or whatever, then we decide to be Zoom and everyone is notified. It feels like, rather than having like a more rigid alternating structure, it could be the default as if we're hybrid, but if we need to shift to being all Zoom, then we can do that in the same way that the programs and services one did, on less than 24 hours notice this last week.
Makes sense. Councillor Malky?
Well, my thought was that given President Oliver's goal to give vice chairs more experience and make it more like co-chairs, you could use the opportunity to let vice chair fix the chair meeting if you wanted to stay home and whatever.
Absolutely. And I think Councillor Bixby undoubtedly will be chairing some items and some other things along the way, regardless. But yes, I agree with you. Okay, Councillor, I almost made you an elected official, Steve. Mr. Hurley.
Thank you. I just wanted to comment. We had a similar question that came up about chairs being present in a meeting for our retirement board meetings. And Jacqueline Zawada, she referenced Mass General Law. I was looking for it. I couldn't find it, but the chair does not have to be present for the retirement open meeting. I wouldn't expect finance to be different, but it's probably worth confirming.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. Any other comments?
I'm just looking at the open meeting law. It says all members of public body may continue participating in meetings remotely. The open meeting law's requirement is that a quorum of the body and the chair be physically present at the meeting location remains suspended.
Location remains what?
Yeah, it's a very awkwardly written language. They say basically you do, that's not a requirement. Yeah.
We do not have to have
They
a
put-
quorum in the room.
Yeah, you do not need to have a quorum in the room. It's still suspended.
Okay.
It's suspended through June 2027.
Okay, so the bottom line of that is that the quorum does not need to be present in the room, and the chair does not need to be present.
No, I think it's just encouraged, best practices, but not required.
Okay, got it. Which makes sense.
I can certainly double check all of those rules and make sure that we know for the next meeting, as well as to make sure that we can change from hybrid to virtual. Because the last one that happened, it was sort of an emergency. So I want to make sure that we can do that.
Awesome. That would be great. Thank you so much. Do we have any other comments? Okay, we are adjourned at 7:43.